Hello, subscribers, people of the internet, and my fellow constituents. God, I hate when that happens. The iconic male sound. So, I'm here today to talk about the recent controversy that has come out about me, and the whole boxing tier list thing, which has 8 dislikes. W for me though, because it got over 100 views. But I've gotten some DMs from people that try to expose me, and I'm gonna actually expose myself and share those DMs with you guys. And I wrote some stuff down. Is I want to explain to you why I think what I think. Because a lot of people probably think I'm an idiot, that I don't know boxing, that I'm a biased fanboy, and I'm not. I strive not to be a biased fanboy. I really don't want to be that. I don't want to be the realist. This channel and me, I just want to give you guys the most balanced perspective when it comes to these boxing events. I'm not trying to favor somebody or downplay someone. I just see things in a very different way to other people that a lot of people don't agree with. And even when I'm done talking and I'm done reasoning my points in the tier list video, you guys are still going to disagree with me. What I'm going to say is very controversial. It's not going to be something a lot of people are going to like to hear. If you are a Broadway fan, the Oklahoma Revival, or if you are someone that's more in the mainstream, the Star Wars The Last Jedi movie with which a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. It's a very divisive film. My opinions tend to be sometimes very divisive and divisive. I think that's what would. Yeah. So let's just get right into my points. But I just wanted to make that notice that I'm trying to be the best commentator, analyst, and I love getting criticism, not criticism that's like, you suck and like all this and that, and calling me like names and stuff, or coming for my subscribers and being racist for them. And we've had incidents like that happen in the past. I don't want any of that, but you want me to kind of have a different opinion and not be mad at you. Give me constructive, concise criticism about what I'm talking about so I can be better. Okay, so let's get on to the main points of the video. So I'm going to be looking at my notes, so that's why, because I want to really make sure that I was doing this right. I do not think Jake Paul is a bad boxer. Let me say that again. I do not think Jake Paul is a bad boxer. One more time for the people at the back. I do not think Jake Paul is a bad boxer. As I said in the tier list video, Jake's boxing skills, his technical ability, appears to look God tier. Oh, and by the way, I didn't make the tier list. I took it from someone else, because I'm telling you, those things take way too much time. Those things take me forever. So I wasn't gonna just waste my time doing that. Just so you know, I didn't make like the God tier, things. I probably would have done different. So his skill wise is God tier, but there's a caveat to that. So there's like if you guys probably know what a caveat is. It's like you make a statement, but there's like something else to that statement. It's more complex than just a simple statement. Jake has shown the most skill and looked the best. For example, he can box off the back foot, Nate Robinson fight. Good use of body shots, the Deadly fight. Thinking while boxing, the Gibb fight, and I guess the Ben fight. But I mean, he didn't need to do much thinking. And keeping composure, which he did, I think, in all of his fights. And kind of not losing that mentality and letting the nerves get to him. And he has that killer mindset to go after you if you are hurt or you are like ready to go down. He's not giving you any mercy. So within saying this, it is very easy to show off the best of your skills and look like a technique mastermind when the people that you are boxing either cannot box, a Nissan Gibb, and Ben Askren, or have never been in a fight in their lives, Nate Robinson. And obviously, I know Deji can box, but he's clearly shown that he doesn't work hard enough. And Gibb can box now, and he is what he's hyped up to be, but that only happened after the Jake fight, not before. So, for example, KSI sparred Cal Freezy and Anisan Gibb. He looked, from a technical standpoint, the best he's ever looked in any of his fights. To the casual, now in this hypothetical, let's say that this casual has never seen Jake fight, and they've only seen KSI and other YouTubers fight. If they saw KSI spar Cal and Gibb, and they compared that technical ability to other YouTubers, they'd say he's the best and the most technical boxer. Or at least that's what I would probably say. Where was I? Except that's not the case, as when he fought Logan, who was at his level of skill, because you might think, oh, well, Logan and KSI are not at the same technical level. And I don't know about now, but back when they fought both times, they kind of had this unorthodox, weird way of fighting that's not very pretty to look at, and it's very flawed, but like it works. It gets the job done. When he fought Logan, who was at his level, he still won, but the technique was not as smooth and as good as you would assume based on his past spars. Yet, it was still good enough, as wild as it is, to have him draw and beat Logan. That is why he is number one and in God tier, because the obvious, he's undefeated. And two, he's shown that his technique can be good enough to beat someone who is at his level of skill. Even though his skill level appears to be lower, it is somehow still good enough for him to be undefeated. He also does not fight people the way he fought Logan. He was intentionally being scrappy. And again, most KSI fans know this, and it's true. The data proves this. KSI does not box anybody the way he boxed Logan Paul. Any of his boxing spars, in his fight with Joel, he's like nothing he did with Logan, he did with the Joe. And people say KSI loses it under the lights and he can't perform under the lights. And the Joe Weller fight disproves that statement, and that is a fact because he did exactly what his game plan was. And while Joe Weller was definitely being a punching bag, he did throw back and he definitely tried to go for a W. It's kind of. But in that fight, KSI stuck to his game plan and did not budge from that game plan, and he was successful. And yeah, that's what I'd say about that. Let me go back to my notes. So I want to bring up something else I wrote. That's someone that I DM'd me. I kind of wrote another explanation. So KSI and Logan both look technically below Jake. Despite this, KSI still won all of his fights. Who's someone at his level? And when he got uppercutted, and the moment of truth came, which was, do you have the heart, the grit, the will to continue to win? Do you have that winner mentality? KSI maintained his composure and got technically better and was more cautious with his defense. That's something that even the commentator said. After he got uppercutted, he threw wild still, but he was way more technical. It was almost as if this new version of technicality came out of JJ. And in that second fight, people underestimate the great things KSI did technically, because when he got technical, and he did get technical, and he wasn't just throwing windmills, he looked fantastic. He really did. And I might do a video explaining the certain moments that I'm talking about. Logan never won a fight, but he was beating KSI for half of the first fight and made it all the rounds with KSI and Floyd, and he never got embarrassed the way he should have against Floyd. His technique was good enough to last with Floyd, who's levels above him. So KSI and Logan showed that their technique was good enough to beat/last with someone levels above them. And again, that whole thing of like, I know Logan isn't as good as Jake, and KSI doesn't look as good as Jake. They both look like they do things that Jake does better, right? Like Jake goes in with his punches. Logan doesn't do that. Jake has not gotten wild or lost his composure. KSI has. Jake doesn't overextend his jab. KSI does. Logan is very unorthodox and wild. Jake doesn't do that. But and again, I can't say Jake is God tier because while he's got the best record and showed the most ability, it's been against people who cannot box. That's what Jake has proven. You can beat people who cannot box. Okay? He's never been in a real fight. Hopefully Woodley changes this. There's a reason we don't see Jake KO pros in sparring. Instead, we see him posting videos of him KOing college kids who've never boxed before. He wants us to see a carefully curated version of his boxing skills instead of his authentic, raw skills he has. There's a story of one of his sparring partners, multiple, who said that that these were good people, good fighters, and he hit Jake hard. Jake's nose bled, and Jake just circled around and didn't want to fight him. And this guy was like, "This guy's not a fighter," and Ben would beat him. Obviously, Ben Askren did not beat him, but there's a truth in that. In that sentiment, in that statement, is that based. And the thing is Jake Paul's coaches and the sparring partners have said this, and you can look up the clips, the interviews, whatnot, have said that Jake Paul's teams have told the sparring partners, go easy on Jake, don't go 100% on him, and that's kind of like very telling about his team not even being confident enough in Jake to handle these guys. And I'm like, if you Logan and KSI, right? Well, I know you're going to say KSI has a better record, and KSI has like an undefeated record, and Jake has an undefeated record. So why would Jake be at the bottom? And that's because I consider those wins to be not as valid as KSI and Logan's and other people's wins. Like Austin McBroom's win is more valid than Jake Paul's wins. Vinny Hacker winning against Deadly was more valid than Jake Paul beating Ben Askren. I'm sorry, but that's how I think. That's my opinion. And you can disagree with it. I totally understand why, but Deadly put on more of a fight than Ben Askren did. Deadly actually hurt Vinny Hacker. Ben never hurt Jake Paul. Although Jake and Deadly and Ben do have in common that they are both, not in physical shape. But again, if you cannot, I forget my train of thought was. If you cannot, you're fighting these people that I just don't consider to be at your level. They're not even half decent. These are bums. BUMS. Bums with a capital B. And I can't consider those to be legitimate. I mean, they're wins, right? But they're not like legit wins. They're not anything to rave about or be like, oh my God, wow. Now, obviously, if you're someone like Vinny Hacker and you want to fight the Deadlies, the Gibbs, the Ben Askrens, that makes sense because Vinny Hacker, he doesn't boast about his abilities. He doesn't boast about his technical skills. Jake is someone that boasts all the time, that loves to brag about his boxing abilities and how amazing he is. And so if you're going to say all this, you're going to do all this, and you set this expectation for yourself, the audience, or at least I expect you to be performing and boxing people that are at your level or above your level. That's what I don't like to see. Cherry pick fights. I don't like to see that. I like to see the best versus the best, or someone that maybe has a bit more experience, but you certainly have a chance. That's what I like to see. I don't like to see people that are just, doing this for a paycheck like Ben Askren was, or to beef up your record or to get that experience. No, in boxing, it's all about taking risks. I know Jake wants a legit career, but guess what? And Mike Tyson, I saw this video that Mike Tyson put out when he was doing an interview with Woodley, where he said the people that I looked up to the most were the ones that lost, that would lose their third fight, or would lose multiple times, but would never give up. And there's more admirability. I think that's admirability in losing than in being undefeated but fighting the people. Sorry, I need to stretch on my legs. Than in boxing the people that no one wants to see you box and that you're gonna easily beat. That there's nothing really to look up to in that. And I know Jake can't really afford to take an L, and I understand why. It's like Jake's a bit of a different situation because if he loses, like no one really cares about him as a boxer anymore. But you know, I like I was like I don't give Jake my blessing of listen, I don't respect Jake as a person because of the stuff he said that have affected me personally. Like I don't think I'll ever really respect him or like him. It would take a lot for me to like him personally. But on a boxing level, even if I don't like you personally, I can gain you can gain my respect and my like check mark and the ability for me to stop talking bad about you or downplay you by actually fighting the person that everyone wants you to fight and you to back up what you say. And Jake has never done that, so I don't have respect for him. And I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. That's not a fact. Nothing I'm saying in this video, for the most part, is a fact. It's an opinion. Opinions can be disagreed with and they can be agreed with. We don't just have one opinion because that's a dictatorship. And America is a democracy where we can have opinions no matter how absurd or self-contradictory or stupid they may be. So I know that I didn't mean to go off on that little tangent, but hopefully that made sense. So going back to what I was saying, I want to go back to my notes because when I don't refer to notes, I kind of go off on a tangent. Okay, so Logan, it can be argued, or even seen as a fact, that his skill is not up to par with Jake's. And obviously, if you've been watching the video, you know that Logan doesn't go into his hooks or his punches as much as Jake. He doesn't have the killer instinct. Jake kind of seems to have more of a boxer body than Logan and whatnot. So you guys know what I mean. So, however, he has proven more in one fight than Jake has in, I believe, 4. And the fact that he went 8 rounds and did not get fully embarrassed or KO'd or rocked or he should have gotten to the level that McGregor was at by Floyd shows that his skills, no matter how lesser looking they are good enough, and he's levels above all the other YouTubers. He proved his skills were good enough to have a semi-competitive fight with the best boxer of our era. And I mean that's the statement. And so this is where I'm going to refer to the DM conversation. We'll get to how, because you probably don't really understand what I mean by that. But at the end of the day, Logan's lesser skills were somehow enough, right? And so if Jake fought Floyd and he went 4 rounds and he got TKO'd, the ref stopped it or he gassed out, even though he might have done stuff in his past fights that looked better or did stuff that was more impressive, if you cannot harness that, take those tools out of your toolbox and apply it in a real fight, then how can you have ever been the best or been at the top in terms of overall boxer and technical ability, and how can you be the best now? Sorry, I saw someone out there. How can you be considered the best now? And so that means you were never the best to begin with. If Jake goes less rounds with Floyd, hypothetically, Logan seems to possess better skills on a technical level than Jake. And while Jake may possess better skills in terms of being able to go into a punch more, he couldn't harness it. So how can he be better than Logan, and how can he be a number 1? How can he be God tier level in terms of technical ability? Or I guess he could still be because he was able to go 4 rounds, right? But I feel like Jake's, even the people that hate Jake, and I want to say this is that people that I'm close with that hate Jake, right? I feel like sometimes they put him on a bit of a pedestal that he doesn't deserve to be put on. And that's my honest thoughts. I think he's on this pedestal when he shouldn't be. And that's not my bias. That's my honest opinion, right? If I never knew Jake Paul at all, but I knew boxing, right? And I know boxing, and I saw him fight Gib and Nate and Ben, and I saw these other YouTubers fighting, I'd be like, this guy hasn't faced as much competition as like Vinny Hacker has, you know. And if he's saying all this stuff, why are you fighting bums? So that's my thoughts on that. So going on to the DM situation. So hopefully that. Oh, so before I move on to the DM situation, I want to say, oops. Let's see if anyone's in the chat. Okay, no one's in the chat. I want to say another thing. So, no one has said this, and I don't know why anyone would say this, but this is a hypothetical, and I love the world of hypotheticals and what ifs. Before Tommy Fury's last fight, one could say he's in his own league in terms of technical ability and other boxing things overall, compared to the YouTubers, right? But after his last fight, people were like, it could actually beat him, or it could be a 50-50. Tommy boxed someone who was half decent and got exposed. So I'm fixing my hat. Tommy was exposed because that fight proved he wasn't the best, this amazing fighter in his own league, but just more average. Not up here, but down here. But down here is still decent. This applies to Jake because Jake has a great record, but hasn't fought someone above him or at his level of skill. So how can I say that Jake is the best when he's never boxed someone half decent? So can he, for example, box off the back foot like he did with Nate against someone who's really good, whose footwork is not jumping and whose head movement is not coming in with their head in range? We've seen his boxing skills, but not his real boxing skills, aka can his skills be good enough to beat someone good? I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but I just kind of want to drive the point home. Jake looks the best because he's fighting the worst. I don't think Jake is a bad boxer because even though they were all bums, he still did things that did impress me that others have not done. But I just don't know if he's on this pedestal of boxing technical ability and other stuff having to do with boxing, like mentality, killer instinct, business-wise moves, as people would think or would want to put him there. If Jake fought Tommy or Dylan Moran, he wouldn't be seen as the best because he would probably lose those fights. Or he would win, but it wouldn't look technically pretty. Even though it wouldn't look technically pretty, it would still put him... I would still put him up because you still have the balls to go in and fight someone really good or above you. And while your technique clearly was not on the pedestal that it is now, it still was good enough to win you the fight. So I would give him respect for that. So to summarize, KSI and Logan don't look technically as good as Jake, but their technique is considered God tier or above Jake, as they both prove that their skills were good enough to be undefeated, KSI, or box against to be undefeated against the best, KSI, or go 8 rounds with Mayweather. Jake will be God tier when he proves he can use his skills and they can be good enough to beat someone who knows what they were doing. You can look great with bums, but if you can't muster that talent with someone good, then how can you be the best, and how will you ever? So, yeah. This is Ted Danson saying goodnight. No, I'm just kidding. So now we're going to get into the DM situation. So there was a guy, and I think I put him in my title, and his name was Eddie Noal. I'm going to show his Instagram. It's Eddie Noal. And Eddie basically DM'd me. He didn't like my tier list. And we got into it, essentially. And I kind of didn't, really know. I think it was a misunderstanding because I thought he was saying something else, but I was saying something else as well. So we kind of got misunderstood and miscommunication. But essentially, I don't want to go into the full conversation, but I'm going to kind of bring up some key points because he screenshotted 3 things and said, these 3 DMs, these 3 screenshots are all I need to expose you, to clown you, to this and that. And I was like, well, great, let's go. I tried to video call him. He has not responded. So obviously, I'm like, first of all, nobody cares enough about me to be like, oh my God, we're going to expose Andres for being a hypocrite or whatever. We're not knowing boxing. Like, nobody cares about me, first of all. And secondly, I want you guys to hear this from me and not to, in a video comment, Eddie Noel to say, oh, guys, want to see the DMs me and Andres had? Because I want to explain myself and clown him and turn the tables on him, because he said, oh, you're going to block me? And most people would. But I like to have conversations with people and prove myself right. I love being right, and I love defending myself and, clowning on people who think that they know what they're talking about. And I don't take this guy seriously because his own Instagram bio says, Vinny Hacker is a legend. Like, I don't take this guy seriously. So, he asked. So hold on, I want to go to the actual DM conversation just because I want to make sure I have all the context down so I don't get exposed for something else. Dang, I've been talking for 24 minutes, man. That is crazy. He's not the best. LOL. Hold on, I'm trying to find. He's not the best. LOL. Then who is? Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Ugh, why, bro? There's so much that we talked about. Okay, well, hold on. I want to find this. Okay, so I think what happened was, so I said he's not the best, LOL. And I think I was referring to Jake. I think. Hold on. I wanna make sure I can find the actual thing because, I want to make sure I know the full context of the thing. He's not the best, LOL. Where is it? Oh my god, I can't find it. Ugh, God, he's not the best. LOL. Hold on, hold on. So he's not the best. LOL. He's not the best. And this guy was really annoying. Okay, so okay, so he said, "You just proved to me that not only are you in denial, but you're more delusional than I thought." And then, so hold on, let me go back. So he was asking me who was the best overall. So I thought so he said who's the best overall YouTube boxer, and I think he asked me so first he asked me who was the better boxer between KSI and Jake. And then he asked me who was the best overall boxer, but then I thought he was continuing to talk about KSI and Jake and not in general. So I don't know. I got really confused by what he was saying, but I'm sorry for this being the boring part of League. Hopefully you didn't click out yet. Oh, let me find it. Oh, for the DMs. Okay. So he said I said he's not the best, LOL, and then he said then who is? I said Logan, and that's what I'm going with. And then he said you put KSI ahead of Logan. That is correct. Yes. And that was seen as trying to expose me because he'd be like, how does it make sense that KSI is ahead of Logan, but Logan is considered to be the king of YouTube and the best? How does that make sense? I'm going to explain it. So I would say Logan Paul is the best boxer and best technical fighter of YouTube. Wow. Let's take a moment to really sink that in. Crack my bones. I said it. I said it. I'm not taking it back. So yeah, and I'm not trolling. I'm everything I'm saying, I'm being serious on. I'm not trolling. I'm not being jokey. And again, a lot of you are not going to agree with my opinion. And if you don't agree with my opinion, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to try and convince me of something else. You could, but it's everyone wants to be right these days. I do too, but I'm just saying. Anyways, I would say Logan is the best boxer and best technical fighter. Again, Logan looks not as good as Jake, and Jake does things like fully going. Oh wait, did I already say this? I don't think I did. Again, Logan looks not as good as Jake, and Jake does things like fully going into his punches. However, Logan showed that his lesser still got him a full fight with KSI and Mayweather and never got Nate Robinson level of embarrassment, which he should have gotten with really both of them, with KSI and with Mayweather. Wait, my glasses are terrible. I was so professional for so long. It was like doing so good for like 30 minutes. I was doing so good, and now like everything's falling apart. Oh my god, why am I getting mail? Anyways, so Logan is not number one, but still the king. And the reason why he's not number one, so he's the king of YouTube boxing. He's the best, but he's not number one because he never won a fight. But he's the king, as he proved that a YouTuber could last with a pro boxer, and that his skill set was up to par on that task. And if your skill level can be up to par on that task, you are the king. You are the best, but you're not number one. You know, I know king and best you would associate with number one. I don't subscribe to that. His mentality as well was on another level than really anyone. Like, I mean, and this is, let's take like boxers into the equation. Tommy Fury is Logan's like height and size and weight. He would not last 8 rounds with Mayweather. He wouldn't. There were some better boxers than Logan Paul who are like his height, his weight, who are like way better than him, right? But I can guarantee you would not go 8 rounds with Mayweather because when you're fighting a pro boxer like Mayweather on a Showtime pay-per-view event in Hard Rock City, bro, the mentality and the skill set that he was asked to try to get to, which he was never going to because he's a novice, was impossible, and in some cases could not be done by anyone, not just YouTubers, but actual boxers that are trying to make a come up in the world. And you can, like, people don't know, like, you can forget what your plan is. You can forget how to jab even in a fight. The nerves completely put you in tunnel vision. You can completely lose it. It's like until you get into a ring, you don't really understand. Like you can either be meant for it or you're not. You know, like you get hit once and it's like and it's like whoa, like I can take shots, but like the nerves, the adrenaline, it's like whoa. So for Logan to be able to come out and box smart, like Logan is the only person that in the whole YouTube division that I think could successfully win against Mayweather, because he didn't win against Mayweather. He won by going 8 rounds with him and not getting embarrassed. KSI and Jake Paul would not last as long as Logan. One, because Logan, the bigger you are in terms of height and weight, the better you do against someone like Mayweather. So KSI and Jake are not the same height and weight as Logan and are a lot smaller than him, and so they wouldn't do as well. And they are a lot more aggressive, and if they get into a fight, they're not going to back down. You know, they got that dog in them. But that kind of works to your disadvantage when you're fighting someone like Mayweather, who, you know, you could do whatever you want. You could just go like bang, 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 and just like and Mayweather just go like this, bang, 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 and you'll just get jabbed out until you're tired or you get rocked. And even like Mayweather's punches like hurt Logan. Like you could tell, like Logan was like whoa, but Logan was never rocked. And I know clinching is not the most technical thing, right? And it's frowned upon. But Logan knew how to use that effectively. And there were some boxers who maybe were less wrestlers, right? But who could not figure out how to use the clinching effectively. Logan, I mean, in exhibition, the rules were a little lesser. But Logan literally just put all of his weight on Mayweather when he was tired or went to stop Floyd's momentum so he could catch a breath and get him frustrated. And that's what I'm saying. Logan is such a frustrating person to fight because wait as you're about to load in on him, you just get clinched. And for someone that is inexperienced like KSI, you're going to lose your composure. It gets really annoying. You know, you have to have a real mental zen. Even Floyd, I could tell, was getting a little aggravated. I mean, he was technical the whole time, and he beat Logan on points, technically, if this was a real fight. But he was aggravated. He was aggravated. You could see it in his face. And that's impressive. That is something that I'm like, wow, Logan. Like, there are some people that don't know how to muster that, to take that from their toolbox of skills and memory in terms of what they've learned in the past. So I don't even know what my point was. I'm so passionate that I just start talking and I don't stop. But yeah, that's why I think that's also, so the reason why he can only go is because he can use his clinching effectively. His clinching is memeable and it's definitely a thing to joke about, but it works. It works. And he moves and has great instincts for a big guy. He moves, I think, better instincts than KSI and Jake. And I think that he thinks in a like he says like I overthink the fight so much that I don't end up doing anything. But he thinks very strategically. He's very robotic. He's like a computer. Bang, bang. Like he's very strategic and smart and not. He's like he wants to fight you, but he doesn't want to. So he's a very defensive fighter, right? And that works to his advantage sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's gotten him to not get embarrassed. It's made him look better than KSI, and it's made him go 8 rounds with Mayweather. So, I mean, like that to me is like wow, like how can anyone compare to him? And the mentality, like taking away the technical side, the pure technique, the mentality, the dog, the heart, the will to like Logan was in it for 8 rounds, guys. 8 rounds. What other YouTuber could do what Logan did and perform at the level Logan did? I don't think any other YouTuber could. Maybe Jake, maybe KSI, but I don't think they'd last as long, and I don't think they'd do as well from a technical style and from a mentality sense. I don't think they would. And I love Jake. I love KSI. I don't like Jake, but like I love KSI, but like my man wouldn't make it 8 rounds with Mayweather. Because like Logan is not a very aggressive fighter, and that works perfectly for Floyd. So KSI is number one because he's never lost, obviously, and proved his rougher skill set can actually win him fights and win fights with someone that's exactly where he is in terms of skill. And Logan hasn't proven that. He's proved that he can survive with someone at his level and survive with someone that's above him, but he's not been able to prove that that can actually win him a fight. But Floyd is a different situation. It's not like if you fought a YouTuber, I wouldn't consider him to be the best or the king. KSI isn't fighting actively, and he's never boxed a real boxer, which is why he's not the king, but still number one. So hopefully that logic made sense, and hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. So I kind of disproved this guy's statement. I just didn't have the words, and it was also like 3 a.m. when he DM'd me, so I was not in my mental zen zone where they able to fully break down and comprehend all of that. But hopefully that made sense. It's a little convoluted. You might be like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But guess what, guys? It's an opinion. So then, what was the other DM? Okay, so then he said, okay, so who's more likely going to win and who's the better boxer now? And just talk about Jake and KSI. And I said, Jake. But there's a lot more to that, and he just said, "Give me the simple statement," and I gave him the simple statement. And then when I explained it, right, and it actually made sense, he chose not to DM that one because it wouldn't fit his agenda or narrative, which is something that I highly think that he's a realist fan or something. Because, so I know I'm cracking my legs, but I have to do it. That's probably like my best streams ever, but. I don't know what's in the chat or there's not a lot of people watching, but I'm kind of glad because I don't want to get distracted by comments and whatnot. So before we get into that, I want to say this. If you and your coaches, that's Jake Paul and BJ Flores, say that your skills are good enough to beat Conor or people at a high level, why are you boxing people like Nate Robinson and Ben Askren? Very valid question. Because I don't know exactly what the interview was, but Jake Paul said, I can beat Conor in 2020, and he said it again this year. Same thing that BJ Flores, his own coach, said. Wow. Like, really? So then I say, hold on. Sorry. I got acid reflux. If you are so confident and you actually believe in what you're saying, you'd be boxing way better people. But he's not. And you know why? Because Jake, I said, is not as good as he makes people think, or even he thinks. The reason why him ducking is so important is because it's the key to everything. People say he's changed. He doesn't duck people anymore. Yeah, he ducked Jake, KSI, but he changed. But he hasn't. Good fighters have called him out, have been suggested to him, and obviously at this point you know who those people are. and he refuses to fight them, and he has no good reason not to. Saying it wouldn't make sense business-wise is an excuse. If it's the best versus the best, or the fight that everyone wants to see, then that's all that should matter. That would be like if Canelo said, I'm not going to box Billy Joe because his UK fan base isn't strong in America, because Canelo had a huge Mexican audience, and that was pretty much all that was in the arena. And they wouldn't be able to attend the event because the borders were closed at the time. If Canelo was like talking a big talk and then he said that's the reason why, wouldn't make sense, right? It would come off like what? So this shows Jake is greedy and cares more about the material things he gets, such as clout, relevancy, and money. I think Jake loves boxing, but I think he loves what it does to benefit him slightly more. Logan and KSI both show they're truly confident in their skills. Logan boxed Mayweather, and despite all of the haters and the doubters, KSI still wants to box Jake. 2 years on, almost 2 years on. If you look at the data, KSI seems to be the lesser boxer and less likely to win, as he has trained and gotten better, but has not been in a fight in almost 2 years. Jake has shown more than KSI, but of course he's going to, as his opponents are so weak. Ergo, he can show off way more of his skill, and KSI Calfreezy suppose, also shows that. So if like KSI boxed Calfreezy, Gibb, and Ben Askren, and then he fought Logan, people will be like, oh, he's not on this pedestal. Like he's not at the pedestal. He's still the best because he put on a fight and he had the dog in him, but he's not at this pedestal in terms of technique and ability. But you can still put him at number one because he still proved that technique, and he actually his fights are not with people that are below him. It's people that are the best. The ones that make the most sense. The tougher the guy is, the less you show off and look as good when compared to boxing a bum or someone that's not at your level. So it's self-contradictory to say Jake is better, such has a better chance at winning, but it's also the same thing to say KSI as well, which makes it all a paradox. So what do I mean by that? So to say that Jake Paul is the better boxer and has more likely chance to win than KSI is a true statement, kind of, right? Or it's a statement, right? But it's kind of self-contradictory in a way because Jake has not fought anyone that is like he's shown that he's had a lot of technical skill, but again, of course he's going to, because the bums are so bad, he can look 10 times better. And that's not to say he's not good, but he just looks 10 times better, and he's able to show off more. Watch KSI versus Calfreezy. He's doing the Mike Tyson stance. He's got good movement. He's got good head movement. He's got good jabs. He's body shotting him. Like, he looks great, right? Technically. And I'll say it's hard to say just with KSI because KSI had to fight Logan Scotty for a reason. But if you look at like Logan, for example, he looked really great against that Russian guy that went into his backyard, right? Like, Logan showed a lot. They could argue technically that's the best Logan ever looked, right? Then he fought someone like Mayweather and KSI, and obviously he didn't have the heart in the KSI fight, but he had the technique, right? With the Mayweather fight, he had the heart and he had the technique. And while he obviously was never going to win, he was still able to go 8 rounds with him, and so that even though his lesser technique. Well, so sorry. So this whole thing trips me up because this is a part of the whole thing that I get like tripped up in. I forget what I was saying. Let me start over. So, because it's really hard to explain this without sounding stupid, and I want to make sure to get this right. So Jake has fought lesser people, so he looks better. So he's got better technique. So he looks like he's 10 times better, and he's put on this pedestal in terms of technical ability. But he's never boxed somebody who's at his level that's even good. So how do we know for sure that his technical abilities are actually at the level that he says he is, and can he actually access those tools and perform as good as he did against Nate Robinson, against Tyron Woodley, or Floyd Mayweather, and beat them? And even if he beats them, I'm still going to put him number one because like your technique was clearly enough, but it was not at the pedestal level that we all thought it was. And and so going back to the KSI thing, KSI sparred Calfreezy, it looks technically better, but in reality, that's not like in a real. I don't need to get. Oh, so like. Oh my God. I'm confusing myself. Oh, so Logan, sorry, I didn't want to go for KSI. Logan looks really good technically against Ivan Drago, right? But then when he was fighting someone at his level or above his level, right? He looked not as good. He was not able to show off as much. However, he did show that his lesser skills compared to Jake, for example, was still good enough to go 8 rounds with Mayweather. Like there was something, there was a kernel that he was able to access those tools and that mentality. And if you can access those tools and mentality against someone good like Jake, like if Jake fights someone good and he can access that mentality and those skills, then Logan was better than Jake all along, and he is now. And Jake is the better. And so yeah, hopefully that made sense. I don't think that makes sense. That makes sense to me, but it probably doesn't make any sense to you guys. It's okay. It makes sense to me, and that's all that matters. Basically, the gist of what I'm trying to say here is that it's been proven that when someone like in a YouTuber space boxes somebody that's weak, they are able to show off more, and in boxing generally show off more, and you look like on a pedestal level of technical ability. But then when you fight someone at your level or above your level, you're either gonna fall, you're gonna be surpassing expectations, or you're gonna like be way in the middle. And Logan proved that he's not here, but he still showed that his skills were good enough to last with Mayweather. So he was able to show that so his Logan's abilities against the Russian guy, right? He was able to show off more. But when he fought someone like Mayweather, okay, so at his level, he like didn't look as good as there, and he was and people thought would put him down here, and that's what you're gonna do because he fought someone at his level and he showed I can't do this. And he redeemed himself in the Floyd fight, and he still was not able to show off a lot of his technical ability like he was able to do with the Russian guy. But he was able to show that even with his lesser skills, he could go 8 rounds with Mayweather. I think I got it. It's really it's convoluted, and it probably doesn't make sense to a lot of you, but really play that back, think about it, and hopefully you don't hate on me for that, okay? Ooh, so yeah, so Jake is technically the better boxer and has the better chance of winning because he's active and he's consistently getting better. He's constantly growing and accelerating more than KSI is, even though KSI is in shape and boxing, doing 12 rounds and got a new coach. It's different. You excel more. You accelerate more when you're in fight camp than in not in fight camp. And he's shown more technical ability than KSI has in his 2 fights with Logan. And I guess you could argue in the Joe fight and in his spars, but those spars were in 2018, 2019, and not in the past 2 years. We were constantly seeing new stuff of Jake's technical abilities. We only had the past to focus on KSI. And he's again, his opponent's so weak, he's gonna show off more. So it's like, how do we know for sure that you were on this pedestal, that you were actually better? So yes, he is better based on the data, on the videos. But when you look at it when you actually look at more, like if you just look at the visual, like if you just watch the fights, you're gonna say Jake Paul's a better boxer / has a better chance of winning. But when you analyze it and actually think about it and really go complex more into the less of the visual and more of like the the metaphysical, the other, right? You're like, of course he's going to, because he's fighting bums and he's gonna look better. But it's like you can look worse. Like Logan looked worse technically against Floyd than he did against the Russian guy, but he still showed that that he was able to harness the skills and the mentality to beat Floyd. So if Jake looks great against these guys, but he's not able to muster that mentality, that composure, that technique against Woodley or KSI or Floyd, how can he have ever been on that? He was never on that pedestal to begin with, or we shouldn't have never put him on the pedestal. He never was, and he never is the best boxer in terms of technical ability. Because, again, like if you can't do that, what you did to Ben Askren and Nate Robinson against good people, that shows that you're just not good enough. So that is a self-contradictory statement to say Jake Paul is the best boxer, has the better chance at winning than KSI does. But then you're also saying, but he might not. So it's self-contradictory. It's a paradox. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that made sense. It's like we don't know. Like I've explained this so many times, but like we don't know if he's actually how miles ahead of he is than KSI. Because KSI could have a lesser technique than Jake Paul in their fight. But if he still wins, he was like, I was still able to muster that dog, that hard, and then it comes down to like mentality or whatever. So if Jake Paul like has a lesser mentality than KSI when they fight, you were not at that level that he's at, and you are below. Right? Like Logan, well, Logan and KSI were at the same level, but like if Jake and KSI fight, and Jake's not able to maintain the composure, or he's not able to do the things that worked, or the things that he gets away with, he's not getting away with, and doesn't know what to do, and he just starts doing this. And in the Nate Robinson fight, he was throwing haymakers. Nate Robinson was coming at him with pressure. Pauls don't like pressure, and he started doing things that were very unlike Jake. So if he does it against KSI, you're not at this pedestal. But at the same time, that could be what I'm saying could be wrong, because Jake Paul could actually be that. So when they fight, this paradox, this self-contradictory statements will be no more. Okay, that's all I have to say. 50 minutes of just pure nonsense. A lot of you are going to agree. A lot of you are going to disagree. People are going to say I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm biased. And I'm not. And that's all that really matters. What matters is what I know. And I know is that I'm being as balanced and as fair as I am. I'm saying something super controversial. None of you are going to agree with it. But before you type, before the people that have never watched me before type, listen to what I'm saying and really think about it. Don't just be like, you know, we talk about boxing, or you just think about emotionally, logically. Think about here and here. And if you still don't disagree with me, give me constructive criticism. Give me another perspective. Maybe you'll prove there'll be flaws in my theory, which I'm sure there is, which is, you know, like that's what happens. And I will gladly debate you, talk about it with you. But I'm done. I'm not going to make another video or talk about this tier list controversy anymore. And if you want to challenge me, whatever, go on, DM me on Instagram. DM me on Instagram. My thing's there. It might be I think there might be a lock on DMs, and I don't know how to undo that. So make sure to follow me, and I'll make sure to follow you. And as long as we do that, you can DM me. It's not like I'm trying to make people not message me. It's just something that I'm going to switch accounts from professional to like a regular account. But yeah, like that's really all I have to say. Is like, that's my opinion. It's an opinion for a reason. It's not a fact. It's just something that's very unconventional. And I kind of was happy that people reacted negatively, because it got over 100 views. I got great views. It was an amazing W of a video. So at the end of the day, I'm not upset about anything. And hopefully you can now see the clown that was stinking. I don't even remember what his name was. The guy that DM'd me, Eddie. Hopefully Eddie is clowned, and you guys. I exposed myself in DMs, and you got nothing, Eddie. You got nothing on me, in terms of, you know, trying to clown me. And I defend my case, my thoughts, to the death. And again, you know, like the video, subscribe, please comment, DM me if you want to. Let's talk about this. But you know, I want to move on from this. But I wanted to really just give my full analogy of this. And again, but these kind of opinions create viewership. And I knew that was going to happen. And I was afraid to say this, because this is something that I think about a lot. And I want to say, but I don't want to say, because I'm going against the grain. I'm saying something that no one else is saying. Maybe that's because I'm stupid. I don't think I'm stupid. People say I don't know what I'm talking about boxing. And you know what? To an extent, maybe you're wrong. No, like you're right. Like I don't know everything when it comes to boxing. I don't claim to be a boxing expert. I don't claim to be this all knowledgeable person like the realist is. I make mistakes, guys. I don't properly analyze things. I'm learning how to analyze boxing and watch boxing, and leaving my biases at the door, which is hard to do. You know, like I watched boxing before, YouTube boxing, but I didn't really like watch it. You know, I didn't analyze it. I wasn't a fan of it. But I did watch it before the fight in 2018, and it wasn't until like after the KSI second fight that I actually started to analyze it and really think about it critically. So I've been doing this thing for almost 2 years, analyzing boxing, and I love the community that's given me and the friends, the fans, the subs. So allow me to grow and allow me to give constructive criticism so I can make the best content possible and give the best opinions. But I'm always someone that's gonna say when everyone's going right, I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna say the opinion that's like out of the blue, that's like what? But yeah, I am pooped. I have nothing else to say. So like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you guys Thursday with some video. Yeah, bye.